It is the Friday night, except it's Thursday. It is the Friday night so often done in Liverpool, except it's being done in Erding, the home of Erdinger. Our partners now for 3 years on a variety of different projects, and we're here for Herbstfest. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I've got Craig Hannan, I've got John Gibbons, and by the way, let's get it out the way early doors. We all know how to do it these days. Prost our heads off, marvellous stuff.
It hits differently, yeah. Honestly, it's definitely an Erding.
Absolutely gorgeous. That was absolutely gorgeous. I'm overcome to do the show. It's the first thing that it is quite early on Thursday morning as well, so we are here quite sharpish in the lovely little town of Erding. As I say, it is the home of Erdinger, and you'd expect. But I want to talk about Liverpool. We came this time last year, John. We came after Liverpool had played 3. Herbstfest is when it is. Liverpool had played 3 games. It was the international break. It's good to time it that way for us, and Liverpool were 3 from 3, and there was a real sense of optimism. We felt like they weren't as difficult as the 3 this season, it's probably worth saying, and we didn't quite understand the absolute mess Manchester United were at that point in time. But what we were at this point last season was really beginning to think, you know what, we could do something here, we could really do something, and look at us now.
Yeah, it was early in Slot's reign, wasn't it? And you still forget just how new a manager he is, because he's achieved so much and because he made it look so seamless, and the whole club made it look so seamless, including the players. But you know, we were a bit unsure about how long things were going to take. A little bit like this year, really, with all the different players. You're saying, okay, it all looks good. You can see what the plan is, but how long is it all going to take to gel together? That point last year, the third game had been the United away, where they played really well, and like you say, we didn't know what a mess they were at the time, but we hadn't won there last year, so to go there and win well
on 2 attempts, but we also played well, but we didn't get the job done.
And this time, you know, we beat Arsenal at home, which we've not done for a while. They get that, you know, really good results, and so that feels like a really big one as well. So, you know, although it was an incredible performance necessarily, and although I still think there's loads more to come from the players as a group and some individuals, I think in similar ways that third game being that big statement win that makes everyone, including us, and we're the most important people. I always think the fans, do you know what I mean? If you get the supporters on board, and we'll go in. I mean, the rest of them will catch up eventually, but I think in terms of our support, make, you know, everyone looking around and going, yeah, we'll take some beating next year is a really nice feeling.
I think that it's that bit of we'll take some beating, Craig, which I think matters here, because I don't think anyone thinks, everyone knows it could be a big result in the race to retain the title, but I don't think anyone thinks the title's retained off the back of this one win against Arsenal. Although I listened to the Pink on the flight, John, and there was a lot of up energy as far as that's concerned.
I mean, that's the post-match show.
It is,
it's very vibey, do you know what I mean?
On the cold light today, I think everyone knows, obviously there's a long way to go. But I think it's that idea of we'll take some stopping. And I think we began to get that last season, as I say, around this sort of time. Just a sense of it'll be a good team that finishes ahead of Liverpool. And this year, I think it'll be a very, very good team that finishes ahead of Liverpool.
Yeah, I remember John talking about before that United game as one of the biggest games in Liverpool's history. And I completely understood about what you thought in terms of just understanding our level, and this year, you know, it didn't feel quite the same in terms of each game, and everything feeling like an on a knife edge. But that's because you're champions. I think that's because there's sort of a belief in the team, and you know, I know Neil, you're talking about, you know, changes and stuff like that, but you know, you're still watching the majority of the same players from last season. I think the one sort of word of warning on last season is, you know, we come back after the international break and then we get beat by Forest. Yep. And again, that is early in Slot's reign, but that felt at the time like a real gut punch. And certainly to Slot it did, because he mentioned it, you know, pretty much every day for 3 months.
It's going
until PSG.
Until we play them home and away this season.
No, I think it's barely going to be like, why do these look so focused?
Yeah.
Honestly, so fucking hell, they're drilled here, stealing their eyes.
So that's a little reminder, but it's been an incredible start. Like, you know, it's been in terms of being a, you know, not necessarily looking at, you know, how well he played, or the fact that there's been the 2 up and then 2 teams have come back, and just, you know, again, as I said, how those games have been on a knife edge, just in terms of sheer enjoyment and in terms of, like, you know, an August of football as a football fan, it's just been incredible.
Craig talked there about it not deciding anything, and I agree with him, but I think it would have been massive if Arsenal won.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where...
Oh, we'd have been... talk about gut punches. We'd have been on the floor.
So if they'd have got a free kick, you know, 10 minutes to go, and Declan Rice does what he did, you know, last year against Real Madrid, then I think you're like, you imagine how high they'd be, you know, they'd be on 9 points, they'd be top of the league, they'd be talking about how they've kicked on, you know, last year, we're getting these big results now, we're adding that to it, so I think it would have been huge for Arsenal to win, and I think a draw would have been fine, you know, if we'd have sort of drawn the game, we'd be, I think, in a similar-ish mood now, because we've drawn against them last couple of years at home, and like you say, nothing sort of decided, but the win's big, but also just, you know, these big results, it's not as much, well, it's as much of what it does for you as what it does for the others, really, who are supposedly challenging. Yeah, we don't know exactly who's going to be challengers yet this season, but I think most of us imagine Arsenal.
I'd be surprised if Arsenal aren't.
Yeah, they're there or thereabouts, and so and so to sort of do that to them and to get one over them so early and to get that big blow in so early, I think is quite big, because the other way round, I think, would have been massive.
Yeah, no, I agree. What I meant was just if it ends a draw. If it ends a draw and we're there with 7 points and you're looking at a really difficult start, you know, you say, you know, fine. I think.
Well, that's why I thought it would have been a draw. I just sort of thought, like, and I think.
Because it usually is.
Well, no, because like a draw's fine for everyone. I was sort of thought that was going to end up playing out, and then I think Arteta sort of settled for the draw, and then Dominic Szoboszlai and Alisson apparently had other ideas.
Well, I think that
was Ali moving walls.
That was his issue. I think being able to sort of get that, you know, lay a glove on them early is massive, because, you know, me and you were saying on one of the other shows, Neil, that, you know, title races are won in the early days. You know, I see the next sort of 2 months as being pivotal in a title race, and we've seen that time and time again. You know, when we got against City or last season.
Last season we got our noses in front, and then we got a bit more than our noses in front, and then everyone was a little bit like, okay. And then I think everyone thought, oh, it'll fall apart. You know, the fixtures will get harder, something will happen. But Liverpool just had that buffer, and also no one else kicked. Yeah. No one else kicked for home, and you know, and then we end up winning it by the end of April. You know what I mean? You can create the buffer that demoralises people, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the game against Arsenal isn't just about the points that you take off them, because there is a long way to go, but it's the little bit of pressure that you put on them, I think, because there'll be some questions, early questions of Arteta, and I think there should be. You know, obviously this will be sort of 4 or 5 seasons now.
Are you calling Arteta out?
I am. I will do it on any podcast, because I think he might be
there. Get down to Erding, lad. Show us what you're all about. Can you do it on a warm Thursday morning in Erding?
I like the idea that Arteta's pinning Hannan's comments to his dressing room wall.
I think I have to tell you, like, he's fucking right that way, man. Might look soft.
I just think if Arsenal don't win the league this season, then it'll be on Arteta, because it'll have been a defeatist sort of, you know, slightly negative or slightly pessimistic way of playing football, I think, whereby, you know, the Reds, they go for it, they went for it, they win it, and they're top, and that's what we did last season as well. So I'm all for us continuing to do that.
But it's what it does, like, to City as well. You know, we're 6 points ahead of City now, and City going into the season, you know, we need to catch Liverpool. Have we done enough to catch Liverpool? They're already 6 behind. Like, you'd be like, fucking hell, like.
And we've had harder games.
We have had harder games. You know, we've got Burnley away, which should be an interesting one. Next up, you expect them to be one of the weaker teams, but they've got to win already. They obviously made it hard for Man United, albeit I thought they were pretty average in that first half. But I think, you know, but then if they got the Manchester Derby this weekend, haven't we?
The next game is Manchester Derby.
Which is sort of.
The weekend after it's Arsenal versus Manchester City.
Is it?
Yeah.
So you could be on double figures.
We've got the Blues, so let's not get carried away on the team having the most fun in Europe.
No, they are, but
maybe they'll be having too much fun. Too much fun to care.
Yeah, no,
they're nice new kit.
No, but the point is, I think the point, John, that you're trying to sort of drive at there with the 6 points on City is there's every chance you get to. We could be 5 games in, and if whether it is or it isn't, you know, practically it won't be, because you could just win every game, but it could feel insurmountable, and that's a mad thing to say, but it could just feel a bit like, oh, they've gone there. They've kicked already, and we've looked around, and we've, you know, they could get back-to-back draws, City. Yeah. I think they'll beat Man United, don't get me wrong, but they could get back-to-back draws, City.
Yeah.
At which point, and if the Reds get back-to-back wins, your 6 points has become 10.
And there's a chance by that point Alexander Isak's not even started.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'll start Burnley, and if he doesn't start Burnley, he probably won't start Everton. And so they're looking at that there and thinking, well, you know, they've got the most expensive player in British football to come in. We know how good he is, and he's, you know, all he's done so far is to get a brace off the bench against Everton. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, whatever way you paint it, there's more to come from this Liverpool team, and that's why I think, you know, if I was one of the others, I'd have been wanting to get ahead of Liverpool early, and the fact that none of them have been able to do that, it would worry me if I was a fan of those other clubs.
It's why these are big meat results, because we're having a lovely time here, Craig being really, really jovial, but there is another universe where the games go a very similar way, and Liverpool are currently only on 3 points. You know, it is almost the last kick from Rio. Chiesa comes from nowhere to score against Bournemouth when we've got ourselves back in trouble, and Szoboszlai scores a wonder goal. What I think is this Liverpool team's got the humility at the same time to say, yeah, that is the case, but we've simultaneously got the guts to go and grab the moments, and that is a bit of a double-edged thing, and we've needed the moments because of the nature of the games and the opponents. I think when we get back, I think it becomes a bit more normal football, but we can't keep relying on the moments. We know we've got to make sure we're putting these games to bed properly.
No, but I'm not too worried just because it is so early in the season, and I think you know, you say the humility it's the mentality, it's the mentality of champions, and it's that thing that you do every single season where if you win those games, you say that's what champions do. And if Chiesa doesn't go on, say what you would say.
We're all good, thank you very much for that.
You know, if Chiesa doesn't come on and do what he does in that first game, is it like what impact does that have in the following 2 games? But you know, you know, I don't want to look back now. There's no point. We've got 9 points.
Well, what I like, John, is one of the things around this time last season was, I mean, it was a bit more before United, the first 2-2-0s, one against Ipswich, one against Brentford, and I had a chat to Dan Austin in the Glen book after the Brentford one. He said, we might just have to accept, it might just be quite boring, but get the job done. And then the 3-0 at United feels a bit differently, but it is sort of, I quite like the contrast of last season. It was, you were a bit like, oh, we could just be really, really business like this season. 3 games, 3 football miracles.
I know, that's it, we were quite boring at times. You know, I don't know if you remember the idea of, you know, Paddy's just directed a van, it's just completely thrown me. There's so much going on. Erding, the Wasps are back as well. They're my least favourite thing about Erding, the Wasps. They're back. Yeah, Paddy's directing traffic. I'm filming us. I'm drinking an Erdinger. What a fella, honestly. What was the question? Yeah, so yeah, lad, there was last season where you do the post-match shows and you'd be like, how long have we done? I was saying to Andy, how long have we done? He was like 11 minutes. And I was just like, it was the same as last week. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you know, how Salah's good, isn't he? That sort of thing. And you were sort of almost struggling to things to say because you felt like you were watching the same almost routine wins. And so that makes me think, well, they can get back to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think the manager,
it was going to be an emotional period. It's going to be a bit chaotic.
Yeah, and so new players and stuff like that. But I think the manager wants quite sort of emotionless football. Really, I think sort of sterile domination is not exactly what he's after. That's maybe being a bit harsh, but
no, I think what's interesting, John, is I think he's actually embraced. I say embraced because no one wanted to embrace the wider context for the emotion. No one wanted it, but I think he's sort of embraced and understood he has to for a period.
Which is generally being Liverpool manager. I think he embraced it last year, and I think he's gone, you know what, it's a bit mad here and I've got to sort of ride the wave a little bit and maybe I'll join in a bit at Goodison Park. And so, oh, they like that. All right, well, I'll keep that in my back pocket. So I think he
wants it back, the control.
Yeah, but
I think he wants control with a
affected by your environment, and I think the best leaders, if you like, almost sort of embrace that. Really say, well, you know, I'll allow myself to be changed a bit by the culture of the football club and how sort of insane these fans are. And I think he's done that, but my point is, like, I'm not expecting a season like this because I think, like, we will, as they get to know each other a little bit better and as the combinations work better on the pitch, just find a way to. Even just giving the ball away less will make games less eventful.
It will.
Do you know what I mean?
And I'm very in favour of it.
Yeah.
I'm very in favour of it. I wouldn't mind quite a dull run through between the September and the October international break of inevitable Liverpool victories. That would be absolutely lovely as far as I'm concerned. Listen, we are in Erding. It's all going on. The bells are now going on as well. We are with Erding and we're outside a fabulous hotel here. We're very, very close to the square.
This is the original home of Erdinger. This is where they started, and then obviously outgrew it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where I think they made the very first pint.
We're going to drink a lot of it. More on that in a second.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
we are indeed still with Erdinger in Erding. It is a pleasure to be here. I don't know which of you to go to. We had a lot of fun last year at this.
We've just seen Kofi there, and he was like the main fella, and he was like, "I'm welcoming the tent," and I'm like, "I can't wait." It's brilliant. It is so much fun, and
we're so lucky to get to do it. I mean, let's be clear about that. Like, 'cause I try to explain it to people, and it's almost hard to explain exactly what it's like. It is really festive. It's almost the hard thing to put over, John, but it is so festive. It's festive all around here at the minute. When we get there tonight, it's dead festive.
Yeah, because people will have seen like Oktoberfest and stuff like that, and the beer halls, but this is like, I say a smaller version. It's not that much smaller, but it's like there won't be loads of tourists there tonight. There'll be people all coming from either the town of Erding or the villages around there. Like, we speak to people and they're like, "Oh yeah, they've come in from this place and that place and stuff like that." And it's just like, it's a time where I feel like they just get to celebrate themselves and what they've done, and they're obviously proud of, Erding, and they're proud that this little town's created a beer that's gone around the world, and they get to celebrate that in a robust fashion for 10 days. That's the thing I always think. Like, we do one day.
I know.
And to be fair, this year we've made it a cheeky 2, but still.
That's more for flight
time. I've made it a cheeky 4 here, but
but they do 10. It's 10 days, and the people who work here are there every night, and then do the jobs in the day. Some go.
Yeah, last year it was essentially us going to different places, and then someone German ringing us up and telling us that we'd left something there. It was constantly the English. Was it the English people?
The English boys.
The English boys.
Yeah, the English boys. You were most definitely. It's probably the only time we've ever been. You were the main English boy.
I know. I didn't like it. There was something.
You're gonna have to go and explain this when you go meet up with the army.
Yeah, the big bath when I got back to the hotel after that. But it's class. It's really nice, and it's funny. The first year me and John came here, we decided to go for a walk around Erding to see it, and we walked down one street and then realised that the square was it. Like, it's just one street and then a square, but it's gorgeous. It's very sort of dramatic, and it's I'm really happy to be here.
I think because of the size of it, John, is why they are so proud of the beer and why it is such a big thing, and why Erdinger is absolutely everywhere within the town, is because it is a huge achievement for them. They are just so delighted with it, and it is the thing I've tried to put over to people is it's a bit like being at someone's wedding, I think, but with more, and genuinely this doesn't seem likely, but with more people under the age of 25 than you think.
Oh yeah.
Because there was unbelievable the number of just young people having a great time last year. Band was on, doing a little bit of traditional German stuff, but more than happy to sort of flex itself into a few of the hits and Sweet Caroline, if you know what I mean. Like, that's the vibe. They were genuinely just like a big wedding band that everyone was on the tables for.
Well, you sense, like, for so many people, it's like it's the highlight of the year. Like, I bet that band, they're like, "Oh yeah, like, we're playing this crap up this week, but next week,
we're Thursday, Sunday,
we're doing Herbstfest, and it's going to be brilliant, and we're all going to get dressed up, because everyone gets dressed up as well. We toy with it every year, but I don't know, is it cultural appropriation? I don't know, but like
we haven't quite got the courage.
We haven't quite got the courage. Maybe year 5, I'll sort of get dressed up, but yeah, we've never quite sort of managed that. But everyone gets dressed up, or the men or the women, like you say, it's all ages, and you just feel like everyone looks forward to it, and as I say, they're proud of Erdinger. It's still a family-owned brewery, and so it still feels like, I'm sure to all of them, like it's got the essence of what it's always been about, which might have changed if they'd have sold it to whoever. And so yeah, it's just boss. I'm giddy to be here. I would describe myself as.
It's also something that we just wouldn't do at home. People would not, like the kids, like all the young kids in company would not come in like, traditional dress from 200 years ago, but everyone gets involved, everyone gets stuck in and has a good time.
Yeah, it's culture, isn't it?
It seems unlikely, but Erdinger, for all the places you see Erdinger are the Anfield Wrap's favourite underdogs. That's the way they are, that's what Erding is, and that's what the whole thing is about. So thank you very much to them, as ever, year on year. It is an absolute pleasure, and hopefully you've enjoyed us partnering with them as well. I was talking to someone yesterday, John, in a completely separate context, but it fed into my thoughts with this, and because I started talking about last season, but I remember me and you, I've not prepped you on this at all, so by all means say this is mad, Neil, calm down. I remember me and you walking out of Brighton, 22-23, and me and you left early, which genuinely, when you do the Anfield Wrap, you don't do, and there's a ton of reasons why you never do it. One, something could happen and you need to be able to describe it the post-match, and you can't. You feel like a bell end if you couldn't. But we felt, me, you and Dan Austin felt comfortable enough just to walk out that day. If you'd have said to me since, and I do credit the previous manager and even Jörg Schmadtke and other people who were around about all this, if you'd have said, following year, you're going to have a wild adventure and something mad is going to happen. Following year after that, you're going to win the league, and then you're going to be sat proud as punch in the September of 2025, feeling as though you're ready to take on the world in so many different senses. I wouldn't have believed it that day, genuinely. I always believe in Liverpool, but it felt like the mountain was going to be a lot. To get back to the top of the mountain, it was going to be a really, really long climb.
Well, I don't know if that Brighton game, I don't know if you also remember, we did a little video before and you said, how do they get on? I said, I think they'll get beat.
Yeah.
Which I think is the only time I've ever said that, before the game.
And my God, did they?
But the way they got beat was the way you thought they were going to get beat, which was they ran all over us in midfield. We were a split second or a split couple of seconds, in Fabinho's case, behind sort of every tackle, and they look quicker. They were doing to us what we used to do to other teams, and that was frustrating, really. And when it is that bad, and when you're watching a team and you're like, and when you're turning up and thinking like this isn't going to go well, and then they're not going well and this plays out in front of you, and it feels like the team doesn't need tinkering with, it needs surgery, it is hard to sort of look a way through that, really, and find that. And there's some good players in the team, but they look a bit fed up, and so they're being dragged down to the level as well. So you almost don't know where to start, really. And then obviously the manager was looking, and actually being tired as he then sort of come out with. And you had full faith in him. No one would have sacked Erdinger, of course, but at the same time you could see that he was struggling with it all, and he was a bit, he wasn't expecting that season, because he was obviously, quite forthright about his opinion on that midfield going in, and then they just looked a million miles away. So what Jürgen did over that next 12 months, even though it didn't end in massive glory because they only won the Carabao Cup, but still what he did over that summer with George Michael, as you say, to rebuild that whole midfield, to put a new identity on that team, to give the existing players the confidence to say, listen, we're going again with these players, was huge. And then, obviously passed it over to Arne Slot, who then takes this new team to another level. And then now you've got, all these superstars joining, and you're like, our biggest problem is how do you start them all? No, whereas our biggest problem then was like, fucking hell, how many are we going to get beat by Brighton by? And so it is a remarkable turnaround.
There's something, I think, in it where, listen, there's a great message today from Salah that we've just seen praising Elliott, but he praises Elliott for his dedication and his commitment. And these fellas, listen, they earn unbelievable money, and they get the springboard to collective glory. But there is also, I think, a ton of sacrifice that we see, especially from the non-playing staff, in terms of their time, their efforts, their energies. But I think also, big players have really, since that season, since that moment, since the summer of 2023, they've stood up being counted as well, Craig. They've stood up and said, no, that wasn't good enough, that wasn't right, that wasn't our standards and our level. And they've been showing it since then. It includes 23, 24. They've come, we're not having this. And this is who we are, and we're going to show you who we are. And, again, using this as a bit of an odd time for reflection, because we get to come here. I just sort of couldn't be prouder of them in a number of ways.
Yeah, I'm really glad. I didn't know we were going to talk about that, but I'm really glad we have, because what the mainstream loves to do and what people love to do is they love to see the journey as the beginning of a season. Like, that's where it starts. It starts in August, and that's the beginning of the journey. And how it ends up is it started in August and it ends in May, and that is the full sort of lifeline on that journey. But actually, for this Liverpool team, the journey feels like it starts around that time, whereby you have to have those like low times. You have to go to Brighton away and get beaten.
Thank you. No problem at all. Go on. Keep going.
You have to go to these places and get beaten for then for those moments in Brighton at the end of the season to feel the way they did, where you're turning up as champions and you're bouncing around the concourse and you're singing Free from Desire even though you've got beaten, but it doesn't matter because you're champions. All of this is and we live that as fans sort of every single day. We can see that the journey started then, and the journey really started the season before Jürgen left and Slot comes in, because it was almost like a handing over the baton, and then Slot went, actually I'll tweak this, move Gravenbergs here, do this, won't sign anyone, and we go and win the league.
First of all, I thought you were all doing 5 pints, and I'm slightly disappointed that you weren't.
I've got a plan for that. That is what
I thought you were going. I was like, it is right, Atco.
Do you know why I wasn't? It's because I want to try the Picantas, and I didn't want to have that explanation at that point. when you come to Erding, there's all these this is during the Herbstfest. There's all these different beers that we don't get to see out in the rest of the world. And I've got
keep it for themselves.
Got a bit of feedback for Erdinger on this one. I wouldn't mind a few more of these beers.
The Helles is terrific.
The Helles is terrific, but they've got a Picantus here, and I don't know what it is, but it's 40 cents more than the usual drink. And in a minute we're going to film something else that you'll see before the derby. But I really wanted to try that. So if not, I might just have gone, can we have the same again, please? But no.
I'll tell you what, when he looks like he's looking at me because he's got sunglasses on, but he's talking to a German fella, it's off-putting enough, never mind him.
You've got sunglasses on, I've got sunglasses on.
No, but I'm not talking to a German fella behind you. If you started talking about...
I have got sunglasses on, I didn't even know. I said I look like a taupe.
But yeah, I think that's the sort of thing in all of this is that it's, you know, you become champion, and like I was saying at the time, you know, that was a journey that began at the beginning of my life. Like I waited my entire lifetime to become a champion in the ground. The interesting thing about becoming champions is that you feel as if you'll have this feeling of contentment. You know, you'll like that's my work is done. I remember saying on the day it felt like a wedding day. You know that once we've done that, it's done. That's not how I feel now. I want more.
You want another wedding?
I want another wedding. I want to get married every year. I want to go to Brighton every year married on my honeymoon. You know, I want those moments with those footballers, and we've had 3 brilliant games and moments. And I hope that all at the end of the season, when we look back on this, we say, fucking hell, there was, fucking hell, you know, what an incredible journey we enjoyed over those past few seasons. What an incredible beginning of the season we had in terms of how we won those games. And look at us again, we're champions, and we won more than that as well.
I spoke to Curtis Jones in the summer in Hong Kong. I had a chat with Curtis Jones, and he said what people don't realise or maybe don't see is like we're more like a family here. Do you know what I mean? It's not like a football team. It's like they see each other like a family, and you see that with them. Like, I love the fact that Mo Salah's best mate's Costas Tsimikas, do you know what I mean? Because I don't think that's happening at Real Madrid, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, in the Galacticos area, I don't think Zidane's knocking about with someone who's shit, do you know what I mean? I think there's like these splits and stuff like that, but Mo Salah's like, oh, Costas just makes me laugh, I'm going to sort of knock about with him and stuff like that, and there's these unlikely friendships. You know, what came out with the tragedy of Diogo Jota was how close he was to like Kevin Kelleher and Conor Bradley, because they liked horse racing, and so, but they've got this real bond together, and I think that's why Mo wants to say these stuff about Harvey Elliott, because he's like, I appreciated how last year you were disappointed, but it never come across. Apart from privately, I'm sure he had a bit of a moan and stuff like that.
But it never intruded on what we were all doing together. It never intruded on training. It never intruded on your efforts.
Yeah, and sort of what you say publicly and what you say privately is sort of different. Listen, I interviewed Harvey Elliott last year, and then afterwards he was a bit like, fucking hell, I don't know what I've got to do here to get more minutes. I don't mind saying that now. But like on the video, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to keep working and stuff. Saying the right things, and you know, all of that, you know, is important, because it's having respect for your teammates, you know, and it's having respect for each other. And what I think Harvey knew is that if I'm coming out sort of kicking off, am I saying that the fellow who's picking is crap, or am I saying the manager doesn't know what he's talking about?
Am I saying that Szoboszlai's not doing it because we're top?
Yeah, we're not just because they're top, but just because like it's respect for your teammate, whatever position you're in. And so like, I think they all understand that and they all appreciate that, and that's the culture, what they've got really, and that comes from the superstar players like Mo Salah, who will say things and will go to bat for his teammates the other day, or his ex-teammates, because he's like, fuck off, they won the league. Do you know what I mean? Don't speak about them like that. We won the Premier League together. Didn't you enjoy that? They helped do with that, and I'm into it. Do you know what I mean? I like the togetherness, because togetherness is important, and togetherness will have got them through, you know, the tragedy of what happened in the summer, and togetherness will get us the 21st league title.
That's the fruits of a strategy that has said, no, we don't want to sign dickheads. And it's you use the word culture, and I was waiting for you to finish to say that's the culture that's been created on this journey that you're talking about, that's born from the lows and born from, you know, Jurgen's time at Liverpool, continued on during Slot's time as well.
Okay, it's been Friday night with Erdinger. I'm going to get myself some Picantus. We're going to try a couple of the different brews. We're going to have a lovely time. And I'm going to work out why I can't recognise that I'm wearing sunglasses. One of them, isn't it? That's over the punches.
You were adamant?
I really was. I was checking to see here where my sunglasses were, to go, these are my sunglasses, and I couldn't be more wrong.
This is our first pint, by the way.
One pint. Don't even know what's on our faces.
Yeah, can't even work that out. We'll have a fabulous time. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for supporting. It's always appreciated. Take it easy.